and to her we shall return like a drop of rain flowing to thee. One more time. We all come from the goddess, and to her we shall return like a drop of rain flowing to the ocean. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Gaia's Temple. I would like to first acknowledge that we are on the unceded ancestral lands of the first people of Seattle, the Duwamish people, past and present, and we honor with gratitude the land itself and the Duwamish tribe. You know, I want to take a moment before we begin our service today to tell you that this past week at our board meeting, we took a good hard look at our financial picture, as we do at every board meeting, actually. And after reviewing the first quarter of 2023, we found ourselves concerned about our sustainability. We've been back in person for 4 months now and have only had about 20 people, there's not even 20 people here today, in our physical attendance each month so far. We love offering our service here in this beautiful sanctuary, and we need more people in attendance in order to be able to sustain that and to keep meeting here. More people and more donations to make our rental costs so we don't keep going in the red. So we've decided to give it through 2023 to see if we can grow our congregation back to her former glory and our usual number. We've determined that if we had 40 people who were donating $30 a month, that would sustain us, and then our fundraisers would put us over the top. If meeting in person is important to you, as it is to me, then maybe reaching out to other congregation members that you might know and encouraging them to return in person, or bringing some of your friends, that sort of thing, posting your positive experiences of Gaia's Temple on social media and encouraging your friends to come. All of these are important things that we can grow the congregation again, and we need our congregation to become partners with the board of directors in this effort so that we can sustain ourselves. So please do help us with this regard, and we'll keep checking back quarterly to kind of let you know where we're at, and this way we'll all stay in the loop. Okay, so thank you so much. I just wanted to make that announcement. The next announcement that I have today, before Karina makes the official announcements, is that I'm so happy that we have Yesha Matthews with us today, a sister priestess here in our temple. Yesha is the mandala priestess of the Mount Shasta Goddess Temple in Dunsmuir, California. She is a Dharma practitioner and a licensed minister, ordained and initiated in several different mystery traditions. Her temple serves Mount Shasta spiritual pilgrims and worldwide goddess enthusiasts with online and in-person divinations, classes, ceremonies, and retreats. Yesha has dedicated her life to female mysteries, sacred healing practices, and the way of the goddess, with ongoing study and practice in Tibetan Buddhism, Siberian and Mongolian shamanism, Ifa, Mayans cosmology, herbal healing, and Dianic goddess spirituality. With a master's degree in women's history from Sarah Lawrence College in New York, she studied women's mysticism, shamanism, and matriarchal communities for over 20 years. So Yesha has brought a lovely ritual for us to do today that we'll all participate in, with invocations and prayers and sweet ritual gestures, all to honor the goddess Isis. So we're going to skip our usual invocation today because we've got a bang-on one a little bit later in the service. So more specifics about that ritual a little bit later. So, all that to say that if your spirit yearns to connect to the goddess in sacred and conscious community, then you have come to the right place. Because here is where we tend to our hearts and our minds and our souls in beloved community. I'm Reverend Judith Laxer, and I'm so honored that you've chosen to spend an hour or so of your time here with me and the beloved community in Gaia's Temple. So now I'll introduce our board president, Reverend Karina Frenzel, and she's got a few announcements to make. Here she comes.
So that I don't mess it up for Yesha later. So for those of you in person, we want to get into the habit again of turning off our cell phones or silencing them so that we don't disturb our sacred space later on in the service. After 4 years, we're going to be erecting our maypole for our Beltane celebration, which will be held on Saturday, April 29th from 7 to 9 p.m. So we're returning to the Good Shepherd Center in Wallingford, and we'll be back near the gazebo. Details will be found on our website, or flyers are on our networking table out in the front. We're also prepping for our second annual Gaia's Temple auction happening in July 17th through August 1st. Right now, we're soliciting donations for the auction, so if you have services or high-quality goods you'd like to donate, please reach out to Reverend Judith or me. And lastly, stay connected on social media and follow us on Facebook and subscribe us and like us. And also, if you're watching on YouTube and listening online, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks so much, and afterwards we will have a fellowship in the sanctuary after the service. And that's it for the announcements today. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Corina. All right, so we're going to start with a song as we usually do, just to get the energy moving in the room. A lot of you know this song already, so I will believe that you will just sing along as I start to sing, and it goes like this. Ancient Mother, I hear you calling. Ancient Mother, I hear your voice. Ancient Mother, I hear your laughter. Ancient Mother, I taste your tears. Ancient Mother, I hear you calling. Ancient Mother, I hear your voice. Ancient Mother, I feel your laughter. Ancient Mother, I taste your tears. One more time. Ancient Mother, I hear you calling, you calling. Ancient Mother, I hear your voice. Ancient Mother, I feel your laughter. Ancient Mother, I taste your tears. So if you would now close your eyes, go within. Let's take a nice deep breath together. Take a moment now and call all the pieces and parts of you home. So any part of you that you have projected into the future, or that might be stuck in the past, or is distracted by any of the many things that can distract us in life, and gently call all of you home so you can be here now. And breathe into that presence. And as you exhale, begin to ground yourself to the earth. I know all of us have done this before, so imagine your strong taproot extending from the base of your spine, reaching downward through the chair, through the floor, through the foundation of the building, deep into our beautiful Mother Earth, who opens to receive you. So this is a reciprocal relationship. You tap down into her, she holds you. And send that root down as deep as it needs to go till you feel completely grounded, very present. And then from that place, send out smaller little branches reaching out and taking hold, connecting to the mycelium that connects everything on our precious planet. Good. Imagine that those small rootlets and your main taproot becomes porous now, and start to drink the energy of Mother Earth up into them. And know that as you drink this energy up, what you are drinking in is her nourishment, her sustenance, her beauty, her strength, and more than anything else, her unconditional love. Draw all of that up, up, up. When it gets to your spine, let it transfer over. Keep drawing it up your spinal column, up through your chakra system. And when the energy of Mother Earth reaches your heart, let her rest there. Take another deep breath to make more room for her. And we'll let the earth energy rest there in our hearts for a moment. And in your mind's eye, look up to the heavens and find the moon. She is waning now, just past full. What a gorgeous full moon she was this past week. And now she is waning. She's in Sag today, so go ahead and draw that fiery, wise woman down. Feel her silvery light pouring from the moon, from her body, down onto you and into you. Drink her in through your crown and draw her down through your head, through your neck, into your chest and into your heart. And when she arrives, once more, breathe deep to make more room. Now the earth and the moon reside there in your heart, and once more look to the heavens and find the sun. The sun is in Aries today, fiery, warm, the spark of life, and draw that golden, protective, warming sunlight down from the heavens, and feel as it comes through the Seattle rain and down into your crown. He is making his way into your heart now. And once more, breathe deeply when he arrives. Now, in a moment, I'm going to ask us to all take a deep collective breath together, and on the exhale, imagine that you can use your exhalation to push these three cosmic energies of earth, moon, and sun straight forward outside of your body. We'll imagine it swirling all around us to create our safe and sacred space. So here we go. Deep breath. And out it goes. In this way, we say we have stepped between the worlds. What is between the worlds is not affected by the worlds, but can heal and transform. And so we say, our circle is cast in perfect love and perfect trust. Blessed be. All right, so we're going to sing in the elements today, and I'll invite Yesha to come on up and light the candles as we go. And we start with the element of earth in the north. Here we go. Spirits of the earth, carry me. Spirits of the earth, Spirits of the earth, carry me home. Spirits of the earth, carry me home to my heart and to air in the east. Spirits of the air, carry me. Spirits of the air, carry me home. Spirits of the air, carry me home to my heart and to fire in the south. Spirits of the fire, carry me. Spirits of the fire, carry me home. Spirits of the fire, carry me home to my heart and to water in the west. Spirits of the water, carry me. Spirits of the water, carry me home. Spirits of the water, carry me home to my heart and to spirit in the center. Spirits of the center, carry me. Spirits of the center, carry me home. Spirits of the center, carry me home to my heart. All right, so this is where we usually do our invocation, but we're going to skip on over that for today. But this is a time when we say hello and do a little meet and greet. So, let's do it. Stand on up, say hello, shake hands, meet somebody you haven't met. I know only three of us in the room know Yesha. Just say hello, shake some hands. All right, good job. Well, since you're standing, we're going to start to sing our song for all the Aries birthdays in the room. So if you are an Aries, please come on up to the front, and we will start to sing our song. And here comes an Aries now. When you're magic. We got two Aries, all right. When you're magic, anything can happen when you're magic. You're a shining star, listen to the moonlight, call your name, you know who you are. Believe in magic, let it carry you to wonders near and far. Love is magic, love is true, love is who you are. When you're magic, anything can happen when you're magic. You're a shining star, listen to the moonlight, call your name, you know who you are. Happy birthday, all you Aries! All right, so I want to begin our service today by acknowledging and thanking Reverend Karina for doing such a wonderful job and holding down the home here, and the entire board and crew for handling everything so beautifully in my absence last month. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. It means the world to me. And of course, I'd be remiss today if I didn't mention that it is Easter Sunday. Happy Easter to all of you. And the usual things that I say at our service when Easter and our service meet, which they have a few times in our almost 23-year history, which are these. We know the story of Jesus' resurrection is one of many resurrection stories, ancient ones, Osiris included, from cultures all over the world. We also know that these stories emerged from what we witness in nature at this time, the renewal of life, visible life after the dormancy of winter, the greening of the world, and the returning of nourishment. We also know that the theme of resurrection, taken from nature, is one that became spiritually allegorical because of the beliefs we have formed about the afterlife. And more on that soon. We also know that the word Easter is derived from the word Ostara, our maiden goddess, a Saxon maiden goddess who heralds the season of spring, whose sacred animal was the hare, which is the season of spring, the sacred symbol of the potential of spring and the potential of life is the egg. And so that's how it somehow got translated into the Easter bunny and not an Easter chicken. I just love to say Easter chicken. I don't know why. I just do. Anyway, and then the other thing is that the word Ostara is also where we derive the word estrogen, which of course has to do with fertility as well. So when all is said and done, this is recognized as a holy day to Christians all over the world. And so happy Easter to all who celebrate. So I just got back from this amazing pilgrimage to Egypt, It was astonishing. It was larger than life, and it was mysterious. Those are the three best words that I can use to describe my experience there. And I'm sure I will be integrating and sharing about my experiences there for a long while. So these mysteries, these ancient Egyptian mysteries, Now, we all know the big question of our mysteries is, how did they build the pyramids? How did they build the pyramids? And we still don't know how they built the pyramids. And, we can say, and I've heard people say, well, Egypt had the, Hebrew slaves, and so the slaves built the pyramids. So our Egyptologist guide while there said two things about that, which kind of refuted it. One was that the population wasn't large enough at the time for that to happen. Like when you are there and you see just how big those pyramids are, each block that makes up a part of the pyramid, and it's like that big and is like a ton or two. How did they get them, right? Without cranes, without like all, and even with our modern technology now, they don't know if they could do it. So even if they had thousands and thousands of slaves who were doing the labor, they still couldn't do it. It's a mystery. And it's this crazy thing because I wonder, like, why wasn't that mystery passed down? Like, we passed down this information to the next generation. I learned how to make a chicken soup from my mother. She said, throw a parsnip in there. Like, oh, that's how we learn. And we carry these things down. What happened? They built the pyramids and then, like, can't know. It's a mystery. And when you're there, you can feel it like this. I'm here, I'm seeing it. I climbed up into the king's chamber in the Great Pyramid, which, by the way, happens like this, because most of it is tunnel. So you're on a tunnel and you're going at an angle like this. My quads were screaming at me for days. Anyway, it's a mystery. We don't know. How did they carve the hieroglyphics? We don't know. And the other thing that was really interesting that was pointed out is that early on, at the very beginning, hieroglyphics were convex, meaning they carved everything away from the image. They left the image of the hieroglyphic and the image of the gods and goddesses. Kind of like the David, Michelangelo had this big big chunk of marble, and he just carved away everything that wasn't that magnificent body. That's how the oldest of the hieroglyphics were carved. Then later, they switched and they became convex. Oh, let's just carve it out of the stone. But either way, concave or convex, how did they do it? We don't know. You know why? It's a mystery. How did they erect those obelisks? So we get to Karnak Temple, which is the largest temple complex in the world. And so red granite and limestone is, the stones there in Egypt. And there is an obelisk at the Temple of Karnak that is made from red granite. Now, obelisks are carved from one piece of stone. They're not several pieces of stone that are stacked on each other. This thing went up like 2 or 3 stories tall. I spent the majority of my time in Egypt like this. Everything is just so big. This thing was huge. And all along the one side was hieroglyphs. So you think, okay, they carved the hieroglyphs while it was still laying down on its side, but then how did they erect it? We don't know. Why don't we know? Because it's a mystery. And our guide told us that obelisk in particular was 280,000 tons. It is standing there by volition of its own weight. It's not cemented in, it's not anchored in any way, it's just thunk, that tall. So you're standing there looking at it going, well, I did. There was an earthquake right now. Wow. Anyway, yeah, it was just extraordinary. And why those mysteries were not passed down to the next generation is another mystery. So everywhere you go, you're seeing things that are blowing your mind, that are unexplainable, and nobody knows. The sacred sites were immense, they were ancient, some of them going back like 5,000 years before Christ, and for me, in several of them, they were incredibly familiar, like I've been there before. The Nile River is the only water source in the country of Egypt. It is the only source of water, which means that everybody lives within 5 or 6 miles from the Nile on either side, because of the rest of the country is desert. And the Nile is, as we know, the longest river in the world. It starts in Uganda in Lake Victoria. It's the only river in the northern hemisphere that flows north. It flows north into the Mediterranean, and it goes through 11 countries before it hits Egypt. And I could go off on the water rights and the conflict around water rights, but all to say that if we don't figure this out, and if it doesn't bode well for Egypt, let's put it that way, and all of those ancient mysteries. If there's a tsunami that comes into that desert because of the cracking plate tectonics, there goes the whole shooting match. So it is a precious, precious river. And, we hear in the stories like, oh, the fertile Nile Valley, and then you're there and you see that green right next to the river. And then you look out and there's like mountains of sand. So it really is the fertile Nile Valley. And if that river doesn't flood so that it keeps the land fertile, it's dangerous. And many, many people will not survive. So it was a very precious river. It is a very precious river. It was extraordinary to float on that river. I went on a couple of felucca rides, which are these sailboats that men and their sons seem to run. It was just beautiful. The other thing that was so cool that we learned about the Nile, and this is where it starts to connect in with the spirituality of the Egyptian people, which is a lot of what, of course, I want to talk about today, is that because it runs north, there's the east and the west side of the Nile. And because of their preoccupation with the afterlife, because they understand that the sun rising on the east side is life-affirming and the beginning of day and the days when we were awake and alive and happening, they built all the temples and all of the buildings of activities of everyday life on the east side of the Nile. And everything that had to do with the afterlife, like the pyramids, which are tombs, burials, all of like the Valley of the Kings and the Valley of the Queens and all of the pyramids are all on the west side of the Nile. So I loved learning that, and I loved hearing that relationship to the land, that they understood and they, that they understood that, or that they took that spiritual understanding and created their world around it. So the ancient Egyptians believed that the afterlife was everything. Everything in their lives was geared toward getting them ready for and preparing for the afterlife. They don't believe in reincarnation. They believe that the afterlife is eternal. So I think this might have been, in part, what gave rise to the whole Judeo-Christian, we're here and then once we go, we don't come back. And the hieroglyphics were for the spiritual elite or royalty, which were often one and the same. Egypt was all about the afterlife and language. So as you can imagine, I was just in heaven while I was there. Hieroglyphs, there are 3 different types of language there. The hieroglyphs, which were for the spiritually elite, the priests, the gods, the goddesses, the priestesses. Then there was demotic, which means denoting or relating to the kind of language used by ordinary people, so popular language or colloquialism. And then Coptic, which means belonging to or relating to the part of the Christian church, which began to establish itself in Egypt a little bit later on. But hieroglyphs were the original language. And it was the language that was written to chronicle a person's life. I mean, we were in these temples where every square inch, and like I said, up stories and stories high, was covered in hieroglyphics. They were stories of everyday life, stories of individual life, stories of this god's life, or that goddess's life, or this priest's life, or this priestess' life. And they were used to chronicle these people's lives for the future, so we knew what they did and how they lived and what was important to them. And also there was something called the cartouche. Now, I'm wearing a cartouche here, which is when you have your name written in hieroglyphics. And I noticed when I put the altar up here today, this is a cartouche also here. These both look similar, but the one that has the line on the bottom, that is a symbol for your name, and your name is written in hieroglyphs there. And we saw these cartouches on the outside of sarcophagus and on these walls as a way for spirit to find you after you die. And so one of the worst things that could happen would be for someone to desecrate your cartouche or chip it off or make it illegible, so then spirit won't be able to find you when you die and take you to the afterlife. So this was one of the reasons why doing good deeds here and being a good person and connecting well with your community was important, so that when you died, they didn't go find your sarcophagus and desecrate your cartouche and screw you over for the rest of eternity. Toward that end, when Christianity started to make its way into Egypt, the Christian priests came in and they desecrated the sites to, as the Egyptologists told us, avoid paganism. And so like when we got into the temple of Isis, and it's huge, right? Everything's huge. You get up onto the courtyard, and like from where we are to the front door at least is where the first pylon is. And then there's these stories high carvings of Hathor and Isis and Osiris and Horus. And then you look at Isis and her face was all chipped out. And that's what they did, right? It's the same old colonizing story all over the world. It's been happening forever. Some people come into where something else is already happening. They think they know better. They want what they want to be done. And how do they do that? By destroying what already exists. It's so sad. Now, I personally believe in reincarnation. And if I didn't before, after Egypt, I surely do, because when I got to the temple of Isis, I felt every hair stand on end. I felt every nerve crackle. It felt familiar. I knew where I was going. I sobbed my way through the whole thing. So I certainly believe in reincarnation now because I know I've been there before. Now, I am living a life in a way that I hope is good for my soul and for my future, but we all believe something about the afterlife. We don't have to agree what that is. But I will say that we don't need the threat of a lousy afterlife to make us be good or do good in the world, right? We can just look at our good deeds, remaining in integrity, offering love and compassion instead of hate and judgment, because it's good for the soul, here and now, and perhaps later too, but here and now. For me, it's more about what I leave behind here rather than what I will meet after I die. I'm not so worried about what I'm going to meet after I die. But if I'm a positive force while I'm here, if I help someone out or make a good difference in someone's life, that's the kind of legacy I want to leave when I leave this life. And at the end of my life, I want to be able to ask myself, did I walk softly on the earth? Was I kind to people? And if I wasn't, did I do my best to try to make amends? Did I clean up after myself in every way that I possibly could? Did I work for the highest good? Try to be a forgiving person? Those are the sorts of things. Not because I'm worried about what's going to happen in my afterlife, but because that's what I want to leave behind me when I'm here, because those things just keep rolling, right? Unlike the mysteries of how the pyramids, those did not come rolling down the generations. Anyway, but for the ancient Egyptians, their daily life was preoccupied with the afterlife. And I do appreciate, however, although I don't believe exactly as they do, that level of spiritual devotion. They have a spiritual idea and they devote their entire lives to it. I think that's a beautiful thing. So there were 3 sacred sites in particular that touched my heart and soul. At Karnak, as I said, where that huge obelisk was, but also there was a small temple there to the goddess Sekhmet, who is the lion-hearted goddess of fierce compassion, great transformation. She is just gorgeous. And we were lucky enough to have like maybe 2 or 3 minutes in that temple alone, because Karnak was just crawling with people. I mean, there were thousands of people there. So getting, private time in these sacred spaces wasn't easy to do, and we managed to pay off a couple of guards and get a couple of minutes in there alone. And the power emanating from that stone was palpable. And it's the kind of thing where, like, no matter where you walked, she was looking at you, just straight to the heart. The other was the last sacred site that we went to, which was the Temple of Hathor, and that was in Dendera. It was also kind of a complex. There were several different buildings. These columns, my God, they just went up to the sky, and they were just magnificent, covered in hieroglyphs, so you could just feel the energy in the space. And and at her temple, there were 3 different areas that had a particular effect on me. One was the moon temple, and when you walk in and look up, there is a carving on the ceiling of Hathor with her moon in her crown. And so they say, we don't know, but they say that the priestesses would go there and they would lie on the ground and look up at Hathor, who was looking down at them, lying in the same direction as part of that magnificent meditation. There was also an ancestor altar, an ancestor room or chamber in there that also had hieroglyphs everywhere. And, for me personally, it was very emotional also. I brought a little stone from my own garden, and I left it in that room for my mom, who just died less than a year ago. So that was quite a beautiful thing. And then they also had a crypt there. So there's this one little area where you go straight down this ladder and then have to crawl like on your hands and knees to get underneath through the tunnel. Once you get through there, you stand up, and then there's a room that goes this way and then this way, and it was a crypt. How they got the sarcophagi down there, I don't know. But every square inch of those walls were covered in hieroglyphs. And it just made me want to know, made me want to read hieroglyphics. So who knows, that might be my next course of study. It was just the most extraordinary thing. Just extraordinary. And then the Temple of Isis, which really kind of starts to hone in on the magic we're going to be doing here today, which is on Philae, which is an island in the middle of the Nile. So we get on this boat, and we're on the Nile. And then it turns the corner, and as soon as I saw the temple complex, I just started to weep, and I really pretty much couldn't stop the whole time I was there. Then you get up on there, and there's this huge courtyard. Everything is just so big. It felt so beautifully familiar to me. It filled me with a sense of longing and a sense of remembrance. It was so interesting also to hear our guide. So our guide is an Egyptologist, right? And so much history about this, he called it the dynasties, the old dynasty and the middle dynasty and the young dynasty. But it was interesting also how he talked about Osiris and his consort Isis instead of the other way around, which is how we say it. We say Isis and her consort Osiris. He also had the most charming Arabic accent, so he would say things like, Karnak temple is the largest temple complex in the entire world. First you go to your closet and you put on your clotheth, and then you go out into the world. Anyway, he was just charming. Along the way, because of the majority of what you learn is still from the patriarchal dynasties, you have to look a little deeper and look a little harder to find where was that little side temple, like the little Mary conclaves they have in churches. There's always a little spot off there for the divine feminine. And in Hathor's temple, I believe, the guide took us over to this one spot, and you could see the top of a column. And so even that ancient temple was built on top of ancient temples. And when you're there and you just think about how far back it goes, It's just extraordinary. And that it meant so much to the people to build these temples because that's how deeply connected to their spirituality they are. It wasn't just like a weekend workshop to learn about their chakras, it was really something. Anyway, so meeting Isis at her temple in Egypt was one of the things that I know I will never forget. There she was, carved into so many walls, she who is known as the oldest of the old, the great mother/lover goddess, whose devotional love remembers not just her consort Osiris, as Reverend Karina shared with us last month, but all of us. All of our souls are remembered in her power and beauty, and most especially her love. So now I'm going to hand over the reins to Yesha, who's going to lead us in a ritual to Isis. I'm going to sit down there too so I can be reading along with everyone else.
Thank you so much for sharing about your pilgrimage, and it's really making me so excited because I'm going in September, and so I'm going to get to see some of these things that you described. So the goddess Isis originates as the rising of the Sirius star, and she was known under the name Sopdet in that form. And then later on, she becomes the throne of the pharaoh. She is the goddess who blesses and protects the throne where the pharaoh sits and from which he rules. Now, this image of Isis as the throne isn't so much putting her in a servile position to Osiris. Rather, her representation in the throne provides a ground of being. So Osiris can't exist without Isis. She is the ground of being from which he arises and into which he will again be received. Just the same way we see in later iconography of the Virgin Mary sitting enthroned as the ground of being upon which Jesus comes into the world, relevant to today in the Christian tradition. Without the mother, there is no child. And so, as the lover consort and mother, she is both the ground of being that allows and births and sustains the consort into the world, and she is also that which uplifts and supports the consort in the world, and she is also that which receives the consort. And that's a really important element for us, because when we in goddess devotion are thinking about, like, for example, this world, we belong here to Gaia's temple, or Gaia, as they'd say in Greece. Gaia is our ground of being. So this is the platform that supports and sustains us in this world to be here. We're allowed to be here as a result of her generosity. I was initiated and ordained to the goddess Isis, or Aset, in 2014 at the Temple of Isis in Geyserville, California, which is still there. And when I went and joined that temple, I dedicated myself to Isis in her form as goddess of 10,000 names. So all of the Egyptian goddesses have multiple different epithets in their praise poetry and their prayers. And those hieroglyphs you're describing illustrate their different manifestations. So as the lady of the sycamores, or the mistress of the house, or the lady of numbers, or the lady of music. These epithets describe who the goddess is in her various activities. And Isis of 10,000 names is the result of Isis as the throne of the pharaoh, ultimately takes over rulership of the Nile, and so does Osiris take over rulership of the Nile, because the Nile wells up from underground Osiris rising, and Isis was the barge that would carry the body of the deceased pharaoh in state along the Nile so that everybody who was living along the shores would be able to come out and pay tribute to their dead pharaoh. As Isis becomes the barge that carries the body of the pharaoh, receiving him back as the ground of being into the world, she begins to take on a more mobile characteristic. No longer the seat, the throne, the instance in situ, but a moving throne. And from here, she begins to make herself known in other political spheres. So when the Greeks came and took over Egypt and were ruling from within Egypt, they utilized the worship of Isis through Cleopatra to make a greater connection between Greek culture and Egyptian culture. And one of the ways in which they did that was they began to append the name Isis to the names of Greek goddesses. So now, for those people who were working in that liminal space that was both Greek and Egyptian, they're now worshiping Isis Aphrodite, Isis Demeter, Isis Hecate. Then, further, Isis begins to gain popularity in other areas. So then into ancient Anatolia, Isis Cybele. And then up into what we now call Britain, what we now call France. Isis made herself known. She is the ultimate bootstrapping goddess. She brings herself where she wants to be, and she is wholly herself everywhere she goes, and she seamlessly blends with everything she finds, and thereby she becomes Isis of 10,000 names. So I want us all to today experience the nature of Isis that each of us already carries within us. And so what we're going to do, if I can have this writing here, and I'm just going to bring it up here so that I can see it a little more closely. Okay, we're going to recite this prayer first in Egyptian and then in English. So it's okay if you see any word here that you don't feel super comfortable with. They're actually pretty much pronounced as they're written, and I'll lead us in it. So take a deep breath, and looking at that prayer on the left in the Egyptian, Nehes, Nehes, Nehes. Nehes Emhotep, Nehes Emneferu. Nebet Hotepet, Weben Emhotep, Weben Emneferu. Nuchet an Ankh, Nefer Empet, Pet Emhotep, Tu Emhotep. Nuchet Sat Nut Sat Get, Merit Osar. Nuchet Asharenu, Anek Brak, Tu Aatu, Nebet, Aset. And in English, awake, 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 awake in peace, Lady of Peace. Rise now in peace. Rise now in beauty, Goddess of life. Beautiful in heaven, heaven is in peace. Earth is in peace. O Goddess, daughter of Nut, daughter of Geb, beloved of Osiris, mother of Horus, goddess rich in names, all praise to you, all praise to you. I adore you, Lady Isis. And we call you, Isis of 10,000 names, here into this shrine. And our next slide. We can just move on to the next slide. There we go. So we're going to actually call the presence of Isis into this particular altar, where this particular altar will serve as a portal for Isis so that she can come and awaken in each of us. And then we're going to, after we call her into the shrine through the fire, through the purification of the shrine, through the waters, which will be on the next slide in a moment, then everyone here is going to have an opportunity to come up and light one of the candles from this basket from the central flame of Isis and dip it into waters of the Nile to extinguish it. And then you're going to take that candle home so that on your own time, if you'd like to meditate with Isis and invoke the presence that she already has within you into this world, you can do so. So from when we begin this until then we start lining up, I don't want to do a lot more explaining. I want us to just really deepen in and experience the ritual. So as soon as we're done with the ritual broom invocation, we'll move on to the next slide and I'll say so. But together, let's go ahead and read aloud the invocation of Isis first into the flame as I light the candle. O you souls of day, fire dwellers, consecrators, you of the pure breath from the mouth of Isis, I have come for you. By the blood, by the power, by the magic of Isis, establish yourselves within this fire. Isis is consecrated. The temple is consecrated. The temple is consecrated. I am consecrated. I am consecrated with the fire of Isis. I am consecrated with the flame of the goddess. The sacred doors of the temple are opened to me and to my lineage of ancestors and descendants. The light goes forth. It guides me on a good path to the place where the great goddess dwells eternally. I approach your shrine, O Isis. Adding Nile water to this dish of wine. Putting your hands up like this, exactly at the statue. Isis is all things, and all things are Isis. O you souls of night, water dwellers, purifiers, you of the pure water from the sycamore tree of Isis, I have come for you. By the blood, by the power, by the magic of Isis, establish yourselves within this vessel. Isis is pure. The temple is pure. I am pure. This is the purity of Isis. This is the purity of the goddess. By the magic of Isis, it is so. Now please, come up.
And we're going to sing the ancient mother song while this happens, so go ahead and describe what we're going to do again.
I'm going to hand you. Stay right there. I'm going to sweep the shrine in front of you. You'll light your candle from the flame, and then you'll extinguish it in the water, and then you can go.
Ancient Mother, I hear you calling. Ancient Mother, I hear your voice. Ancient Mother, I feel your laughter. Ancient Mother, I taste your tears. Ancient Mother, I hear you calling. Ancient Mother, I hear your voice. Ancient Mother, I feel your laughter. Ancient Mother, I taste your tears. Ancient Mother, I hear you calling. Ancient Mother, I hear your voice. Ancient Mother, I feel your laughter. Ancient Mother, I taste your tears. Ancient Mother, I hear you calling. Ancient Mother, I hear your voice. Ancient Mother, I feel your laughter. Ancient Mother, I taste your tears. Ancient Mother, I hear you calling. Ancient Mother, I hear your voice. Ancient Mother, I feel your laughter. Ancient Mother, I taste your tears. Ancient Mother, I hear you calling. Ancient Mother, I hear your voice. Ancient Mother, I feel your laughter. Ancient Mother, I taste your tears. Ancient Mother, I hear you calling. Ancient Mother, I hear your voice. Ancient Mother, I feel your laughter. Ancient Mother, I dry your tears. Ancient Mother, I hear you calling. Ancient Mother, I hear your voice. Ancient Mother, I hear your laughter. Ancient Mother, I dry your tears. Ancient Mother, I hear you calling. Ancient Mother, I hear your voice. Ancient Mother, I feel your laughter. Ancient Mother, I taste your tears. Ancient Mother, I hear you calling. Ancient Mother, I hear your tears. Oh my goodness. Ancient Mother, I hear your laughter. Ancient Mother, I taste your tears. Ancient Mother, I hear you calling. Ancient Mother, I hear your voice. Ancient Mother, I hear your laughter.
Ancient Mother, I taste your tears. Take a moment to just feel the presence of the great goddess of 10,000 names. She already lives within you. She's in your blood. She's in your DNA. She's in your ancestors, because we know that we all emerged from mitochondrial Eve, that we all emerged from a common root. And that common root, that great mother of humanity, who made her way in this world such that her DNA was passed on to all of us, she is related to Isis. She may as well be Isis for us. She is our ground of being. So you already have it. It's encoded. It's not separate from you. And although we should and want to go across the world to see the exciting things, it's also right here already. And so let's hold this prayer together of gratitude for Isis. This is a classic prayer that I adapted from Isidorus, a devotee of Isis, and where we release her from this portal so that she doesn't feel like she has to stay in this building forever, but we take her with us when we go. You have come from the waters, O Isis. You have come through the fires, O Isis. You have come to the temple, O Isis, and you have entered my body as golden light. You have purified heaven, O Isis. You have purified earth, O Isis, and you have purified the expanse of space and time. O wealth giver, queen of the gods, lady omnipotent, Agatha Tuche, greatly renowned Isis, Dia, discoverer of all life, manifold miracles are yours. You bring livelihood to humanity and morality to all. You teach that justice will in some measure prevail. You give skills that life might be comfortable, and you discovered the blossoms that produce edible vegetation. Because of you, heaven and the whole earth have their being. In the gusts of the winds and the sun with its sweet light, by your power the channels of Nile are filled, every one at the harvest season, and its most turbulent water is poured on the whole land, that produce may be unfailing. All mortals who live on the boundless earth, Egyptians, Thracians, Greeks, and barbarians, express your fair name, a name greatly honored among all, but each speaks in her own language, in her own land. The Syrians call you Astarte, Artemis, Nanaya. The Lycian tribes call you Leto, the lady. The Thracians name you as mother of the gods, and the Greeks call you Hera of the great throne, Aphrodite, Hestia the goodly, Rhea, and Demeter. But the Egyptians call you Theus, because they know that you, being one, are all other goddesses invoked on earth. Mighty one, I shall not cease to sing of your great power. Deathless Savior, many-named, mightiest Isis, saving from war cities and all their citizens, human beings, possessions, and children. As many as are bound fast in prison in the power of death, as many as are in pain through long, anguished, sleepless nights, all who are wanderers in a foreign land, and as many as sail on the great sea in winter when all may be destroyed and ships wrecked and sunk, all these are saved if they pray that you be present to help. Hear our prayers, O one whose name has great power. Prove yourself merciful to us. Grant us our petitions and free us from all distress. In your name, Isis, may all be blessed and well. Ancient words for modern times. All of it still applies. There's only a little shard of distance between us and the ancient world, really, of time, because even ancient Egypt had ancient Egyptian archaeologists who were studying it, pillars built on top of pillars, temples built on top of temples, civilizations built on top of civilizations. And yes, it's the story of conquering and colonization, but it is also the story of the eternal nature of human presence, which we have given to ourselves and which we could take from ourselves through our folly. But fortunately, in these times, we have things to help us remember. And we wanted to end this invocation of Isis on a cheerful note, on a note that we can all kind of maybe relate to through music. And maybe you've heard of one of the modern day manifestations of Isis, the great and powerful Chaka Khan. Anybody know who that is? Raise your hand if you've heard of Chaka Khan. So we're going to sing one of Chaka Khan's songs, and there's a part at the end, which I think everybody knows, and I certainly hope you'll join in on. So let's go ahead and get into it. I'm every woman, it's all in me. Anything you want done, baby, I'll do it naturally. I'm every woman, it's all in me. I can read your thoughts right now, everyone from A to Z. Cast a spell with secrets you can't tell. Mix a special brew, put fire inside of you. But anytime you feel danger or fear, instantly I will appear. 'Cause I'm every woman, it's all in me. Anything you want done, baby, I'll do it naturally. against your needs, like rain onto seeds. I can make a rhyme of confusion in your mind. When it comes to some good old-fashioned love, I got it, I got it, I got it, got it, got it, got it. I'm every woman, it's all in me. Anything you want done, baby, she'll do it naturally. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I'm every woman, it's all in me. I can read your thoughts right now, everyone from A to Z. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I ain't bragging, you just ask me. And don't bother to compare, 'cause I got it, I got it, I got it, got it, got it, got it. Whoa, 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 whoa. I'm every woman. I'm every woman. I'm every woman.
Thank you, Yesha! That's the first disco song we've ever done in Gaia's Temple. Thank you, Yesha. That was beautiful, beautiful ritual. Thank you so much. So, my friends, on the wheel of the year, Beltane is fast approaching, the time when we honor the earth's fertility and flowering, the time when we honor the lovers of the earth and all lovers, and the life that lovers bring into being. And as the season matures from late spring into early summer, may Isis bless us with strong, loving hearts, and may we shine her light through ourselves and illuminate the world. May our love be as bright and steady as hers, and may we bring the beauty and then revel in it. May we share a common protective love of the earth and for one another, and may that kind of love be so strong that it vanquishes all fear, reaches into every shadowed corner, and transforms all that it reaches. May it reach you and yours, and may you be blessed by her reach. Blessed be. So this is where we open up the floor for our community prayers, and I'd like to begin today by asking us to hold a moment of silence. My dear friend Patty Zaitlin died, and many of you might remember Patty. She sang at Gaia's Temple several years ago. She was a dear friend and a lovely mentor to me. She died on St. Patty's Day, actually, so it will forever be St. Patty's Day instead of St. Paddy's Day to me from here on out. And so I'd like to offer up a prayer that Patty is at peace, that she is resting in peace. And I'll ask us to just hold a moment of silence in her honor. Blessed be. And for those of you who would like to attend, there'll be a memorial here at Shoreline UU for Patty on May 6th at 4 p.m. So this is where we open up the floor. If you have a prayer that you would like to offer, feel free to speak it out loud and maybe move your mask away so we can really hear what it is that we're praying for. When you're finished, say blessed be so we know you're done, and we'll move on to the next person.
I'd like to ask for a housing search to figure out where we're going to live once we're over there. And so I would like to just ask for a prayer that the place that is safe and peaceful and meets most of our criteria comes available to us soon, and that we are able to get it in a way that is secure and, yes, for a home that nourishes us on the East Coast. So, blessed be.
Blessed be.
I want to offer a prayer to my father-in-law, Steve Frenzel. Today is his birthday. He sadly passed away a few years ago. So, Steve, I am sending you birthday greetings up in wherever you are in the afterlife. And may your soul be at peace, and we love you, and we're thinking of you. Blessed be.
Blessed be.
My sweet sister friend, Alicia Bay Laurel, the author of an absolutely feminine book called Living on the Earth. She and her partner are stuck in Panama because her partner's valve in his heart began to leak. They can't perform the surgery in Panama. No commercial airline will allow him on the flight to get home to get the surgery, which means she needs to somehow raise $50,000 for private transport from Panama to the United States. And she is stalwartly working on it and doing it, but time is short and they need to get him home. And I would like for us to envision an overflowing cornucopia of support in the form of many small donations or one really good big one that then Alicia can bring her beautiful, beloved partner home to have his valve repaired. Blessed be.
Blessed be.
I need a new job. Your prayers helped me last time. I want something where I can make a living wage to help support me and my son, where I can utilize my skills and be appreciated. I just left a job that I was at for 3 years, and it was really, really bad for my mental health. So I want something that is a good fit, where I can help people, that aligns with my morals, and good mental health for me and my friends who are having a tough time. Blessed be.
Blessed be. May all our prayers, spoken and unspoken, be heard and answered. Blessed be.
Blessed be.
All right, so in a moment we're going to pass around the love offering baskets for your donation. Thank you in advance for your generous donation. And also just to let you know that as a nonprofit organization, Gaia's Temple tithes to other nonprofits that are in alignment with our mission, vision, and values. So from the monies that come into our love offering baskets today. So know that whatever it is that you put in the love offering basket, 10% is going to go today to the PCC land security, which preserves and stewards threatened farmland in the Northwest to ensure that local farmers use sustainable and organic methods. And so, yay for our PCC. And just to let you know that 10% of what you put in there will go to them. Thanks in advance. I'm just going to pass these baskets out, and if you will pass them around, that would be great. And we sing, thank you, Mother Earth, for your gifts of love today. Thank you, Mother Earth. We are following your way. Thank you, Mother Earth, for your gifts of love today. Thank you, Mother Earth. We are following your way. Thank so much, everyone. All right, so we will thank the magnificent talent that helped us out today on piano, Kathy Sestrap. On the drum, Pamela Gerke. And to our guest priestess today, Yesha, stand up, please. Let us give you a thank you so much for all that you brought to Gaia's Temple today. Thank you, thank you. Thank you also to the crew back there who are running all of our tech, Tema Gotchberg and Dane of Shoreline UU. Thank you. And to Noemi and Karina and all the board of directors of Gaia's Temple. I could not do it without you, that is for sure. For our closing thought today, very simple closing thought by Lao Tzu, who said, being deeply loved gives you strength. Loving deeply gives you courage. Blessed be. All right, we're going to release our directions now. So yes, you'll come up on here and blow the candles out as we go. Thank you, Mother, for the earth that is your body. Thank you, Mother, for the earth that is your body. Thank you, Mother, for the earth that is your body. Thank you, Mother, for your love. Thank you, Mother, for your love. Thank you, Mother, for the air that is your sweet breath. Thank you, Mother, for the air that is your sweet breath. Thank you, Mother, for the air that is your sweet breath. Thank you, Mother, for the fires of your sacred word. Thank you, Mother, for the fires of your sacred word. Thank you, Mother, for the fires of your sacred word. Thank you, Mother, for your love. Thank you, Mother, for your love. Thank you, Mother, for the waters of your sacred word. Thank you, Mother, for the waters of your sacred word. Thank you, Mother, for the waters of your sacred word. Thank you, Mother, for your love. Thank you, Mother, for your love. Thank you, sky. Thank you, ground. Thank you, Mother, always turning me around. Thank you, sky. Thank you, ground. Thank you, Mother, always turning me around. Thank you, sky. Thank you, ground. Turning me around. Thank you, God. Thank you, ground. Turning me around. Thank you, Mother, for your love. Thank you, Mother, for your love. Thank you, Mother, for your love. Thank you, Mother, All right, let's make one big circle. I would say around the room, but it's probably around a few chairs. Will probably be more like it. Pam, I looked over and I thought, you look like Animal from the Muppets up there on that drum. The circle is open and unbroken. May the love of the goddess go in our hearts. Merry meet and merry part, and merry meet again. Blessed be, blessed be, blessed be. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Please stay for fellowship. Oh, hey, I forgot an announcement. Go ahead, Yesha, tell us.
If you want me to, during our fellowship time, I brought my I6 Oracle deck, and I can draw a card for you if you'd like. So I'll take it with me out there. We can do a little card reading while we.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, darling. Thank you so much.